So starting with weatherization and intergovernmental programs, who we are and what we do. Our mission is primarily to accelerate the deployment of energy efficiency and renewable energy technologies, working primarily with our stakeholders, state and local governments. Unlike some of the other offices at the Department of Energy, and specifically the Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy Office, we are not a research and development office. Our objective is to deploy the clean energy technologies that we have, and we do that through a variety of ways. One is financial assistance. We award over $200 million per year, primarily as formula and competitive awards, and that is through our weatherization assistance program and our state energy program. We also have voluntary programs like the Better Buildings Challenge and Accelerator, and finally technical assistance, where we provide resources to the public sector to help support our strategic objectives. And the State and Local Solution Center is a key component of that technical assistance. So in WIP, we have 3 programs: the State Energy Program, the Weatherization Assistance Program, and the Policy and Technical Assistance Team. Now turning our attention to the State and Local Solution Center, just wanted to go over our 4 primary action areas. As you can see at the bottom of this slide, you have 4 colorful icons, and those all represent our 4 action areas. Moving from left to right, we have develop a clean energy plan, design and implement clean energy programs, pay for clean energy, and access and use energy data. And you'll see those once we dive a little bit deeper into the State and Local Solution Center. We also have some other areas that we work in that change a little bit more frequently than our 4 action areas. And right now, those are the areas that we're working in are energy savings performance contracting, benchmarking and transparency policies and programs, outdoor lighting, and energy efficiency savings opportunities and benefits. And what makes those different than the 4 action areas is that those are areas that we are doing intensive work in for a finite period of time to be able to create resources that help those specific items move forward in the larger clean energy arena. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at the State and Local Solution Center. This is our website where we have a number of the resources that we develop to help state and local governments deploy clean energy technologies. And if we take a minute to look at the home page, the first thing that's going to catch your eye is the rotator in front of you. And as you can see, it cycles through a variety of items. These are things that are either recent additions to the Solution Center or resources that we are interested in highlighting. And you can go ahead and either click on an item as it circles, rotates in front of you, or you can use the directional arrows left and right to go back to something that you were interested in looking at. And once you click on an item, it'll take you to more information on that particular event or resource. I'd also like to note the energy.gov banner at the top. That is part of the permanent structure of the energy.gov website. And if you click on any of those pull-down menus, they're going to take you to information developed not necessarily for the state and local partners, but it's more into the portal of all of the information in the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy. So for the purposes of state and local governments, we're just going to hang out in the white space. Okay, so then let's take a look at our left navigation bar. There's a lot of information here, starting with your top link that's going to take you to the home page, which we're looking at. And then we have the About the State and Local Solution Center, and kind of goes down from there. I would like to pause right here at Develop a Clean Energy Plan. The next 4 links are reflective of our action centers that are reflected at the bottom by the icons, as I mentioned earlier in the webinar. So you can get to those areas either by the icons at the bottom or the left navigation bar. Below those links on the left are our areas of take a closer look that I also mentioned earlier: building energy use benchmarking, energy efficiency savings and opportunities, and energy savings performance contracting and outdoor lighting. Those are also reflected on the right-hand side. So you can get to those either way, through the left-hand navigation or through the right-hand navigation that has the larger representative icons. Another area on the right side is the magnifying glass. That is going to take you directly to the resources that we're going to be looking at without any filters. And I'll explain the filters a little bit later. But if you just want to get straight to looking for a resource, that's probably your best tool. But before we do that, let's look at a couple more things. I also wanted to point out on the right side the Get Updates section. If you provide your email address in this box right here, you will receive our state and local spotlight, which is going to give you a monthly update of relevant events and publications and things that we think you may be interested in. So I would encourage you to go ahead and subscribe to that so that we can keep in touch with you. So then quickly, we're going to scroll down to the bottom half, and there are just some additional links that I wanted to point out we thought would be of interest. On the left-hand side, you have more policy information and some of our other DOE programs, such as Cities Leap. On the right-hand side, you have also links. One is the Weatherization Intergovernmental Programs homepage, as well as the Better Buildings link, which we mentioned as one of our voluntary programs. So that is the basics of the homepage. Okay, from here, we're going to do some searching for resources. So there are a few ways that you can do that. The first way, as I mentioned, is to go through the magnifying glass, which is going to take you to all of the resources. So as you can see here, you have about 274 resources available. And there are a few ways that you can get to those. One is by scrolling down the page and simply looking for anything that you might be interested in. And as you can see, as you get to the bottom of the page, you're not going to get all 274 on the page, so you have pages that you can go through that'll continue. That's pretty cumbersome to go through that many, so we've provided filters that might help you. So you can, let's go through the filters. On the left-hand side, we have 3 boxes. Filter by action area that are reflective of those icons that I mentioned earlier. Those are our 4 action areas. And then filter by topic, which go through more specific items that you may be interested in. And finally, filter by resource. So as you can see there, we have different resources in the State and Local Solution Center: case studies, fact sheets, presentations, reports and guides, tools, webinars and web pages. And if you are looking for a particular kind of resource, that will be helpful to you. So you could go ahead and click on a few things, but let's go back to the home page for a second to see some other ways that we have made these resources available to you. So that's one page, the quickest way to get to the resources. Another way to do that is to go through some of the action areas that I mentioned. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one, and I'm going to pick Pay for Clean Energy. So you can see here we have some descriptive language at the top of the page and some quick links to things you may be interested in. But if you scroll down to our catalog of resources, you can see on the left-hand side now, Pay for Clean Energy has been filtered. So of your total 274 resources, now we have the 156 resources that deal with energy financing. It's still a pretty big number, so let's try to make it a little bit more manageable. So in financing, I'm interested in on-bill financing, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that topic. And you can see there now you have a variety of resources on the issue of on-bill financing. So it's 9, now we have 9 resources, probably manageable enough to scroll through, and you can see through those resources you have the hyperlink to the item and a brief description, and also the kind of resource is in capital letters at the bottom of each. You can see it's either a report or a guide or a presentation. And so you can, I'm just going to pick the first item in the top here. You click on the hyperlink. Click on the link and it takes you either to a home page where you'll find the resource. This one is the C-Action Network page, and you can get the full report on the right-hand side, the PDF file. So we're gonna go back to the Solution Center. So we're going to, there you go. So another way that you can find resources if you don't see a filter is to use the search box. You can see the search box at the top of the filters. And so I'm going to just type in QECBs. So you can see there you have a number of resources on the qualified energy conservation bonds. And you didn't necessarily have to use any hyperlinks. And but this does have a filter by topic. The qualified energy conservation bonds is there. So let's try something that doesn't have any filter associated with it. I know that there is a resource we have on King County, and I like to find that. So I'm going to type in King County, and you can see it comes up right there. And this is a implementation model on an excellent financing program in King County. So that's a quick way to get to your resource. So let's take a break and go back to the home page again. Get some other, maybe get out of financing. Okay, and let's pick another action area. Let's go to design and implement clean energy programs. So here you see again, we have some descriptive language on this topic area. And if you scroll down, the filter by action area has been chosen, and you have 57 different entries. If I look through some of my topical areas, I'm interested in finding resources for K through 12 schools, and we don't have a filter topic. So I'm just going to go up to my search box, and I'm going to type K through 12, and you can see there are 2 resources on K through 12 schools have come up. If I wanted to, let's say, filter this down even further, and I was looking for finance tools on K through 12 schools, I could go ahead and go down to my filter by topic and see my financing box and click that, and it's going to filter my resources down even further to find exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so we're back at the home page, and that's a basic overview of what we have in the State and Local Solution Center and the best ways to navigate the resources. So at this point, we're going to revisit our left side navigation panel and go, the third from the bottom is a very small little link there called Related Links. It's small in size but important in stature, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. This link is important because it shows a lot of resources that have been curated for state and local governments that come from our sister programs here at EERE. So if you look at the additional links on this page, you have energy savings homes, buildings and manufacturing resources, renewable power sources, and sustainable transportation resources. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the middle, renewable power resources first, and this is going to, you can click on that top link, or you can click on any of the areas below that, and they will all basically take you to this page. And you can see here that even though our technology offices are technology focused in many ways, they do have resources dedicated to state and local audiences, and we wanted to make sure that they were all in one place and easy to find. So you can see here we have solar resources, geothermal, wind, and if we scroll down a little bit more, water resources. So those are for those of you who are interested in renewable energy technologies and how they can relate to your jurisdiction, this is going to be an important place to visit. So I'm going to go back out to the related links, basically one step up again. And we basically have the same resources we'll go through quickly for energy savings homes, buildings, and manufacturing. And these come from our building technologies program, residential program, and manufacturing. You can see there that we have curated a number of resources specific to those topics that may be applicable to state and local governments and under that umbrella. And finally, I'm not going to take too much time, but to kind of round it out, you can again go through that through the left navigation bar. All three of those sub-pages are beneath, and these are our vehicles, bioenergy, and fuel cells links. And just to make an example, the Clean Cities program under the Vehicles Technology Program is a large program that works with state governments to assist the expansion of electric vehicles. And you can see here they have a number of local resources. So this could be an interesting place to find that is a little external to the State and Local Solution Center, but definitely related. We wanted to make sure we covered all of our bases. From here, we're going to go back to our home page, and we're going to go through our final step, which is about the State and Local Solution Center, and show some resources here. In addition to the description about the State and Local Solutions Center, I wanted to highlight the resource guide on the right-hand side. So if you click on this PDF in the middle, you open up a copy of the State and Local Resources for Clean Energy Future, and this is another handy guide that goes through a lot of the resources that are offered through weatherization and intergovernmental programs. Again, highlights the 4 action areas, highlights the areas where we're taking a closer look. So I would encourage you, when you have a minute, to take a closer look at that. we're going to go back to the About page. So the last thing I wanted to note on this page is that our email address is located at the bottom. It is stateandlocal@ee.doe.gov. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. And so please feel free to use that. And with that, this concludes our webinar on navigating the State and Local Solution Center. I thank you for your time, and I hope you found this useful. Thank you so much.